Hi everyone, welcome to this video, which is primarily focused on analysis of your test papers. Now, after recently giving this major test paper, I hope you guys are pumped up. You guys have, seen the answer key and started speculating your score. However, the analysis of the paper doesn't just end there. It is a much detailed, much thorough exercise that I would want to share with you so that you can benefit from it the most. Now, couple of important points that I would want to start off with. Like, it is really important for you to do the analysis immediately after the test papers. Like, it shouldn't be that a week has gone by and you are then looking into the test paper. Then it becomes kind of like mundane. You really don't find the interest in analyzing your papers. So please make sure that you do it right away. Also, that I've seen many students, they do this on an ad hoc basis. Like, they take their test papers, they will grab some A4 paper from here and there, and then they will just count their marks and start analyzing which question was correct, which was incorrect. But that is not something which you should do. You should rather have a separate diary or notebook that you can maintain throughout your preparation. And this is, I'm saying, because of the fact that analyzing your test papers is an important skill set. Like, if you notice the successful students around you, they always try to get this feedback from their tests. And until and unless you know about that feedback, you are not going to see the areas of improvement. So this becomes an important activity, an important skill set, and it becomes better and better when you start doing it, not just for major tests but also for these topic wise tests that you come across on a weekly or a fortnightly basis. So please make sure that you have a separate notebook in which you are maintaining a log of all your test papers and their analysis. Then third point would be to again make you understand the fact that it is not something which is a just superficial exercise. You would need to spend dedicated time into it. So if you have, let's say, a 3-hour test paper, it sometimes takes 2 to 3 hours to actually in a detailed manner analyze that entire paper, that what went wrong and what went right. So do take out dedicated time for it. Just don't try to be in a rush to complete it and just get done with the task. It is for your own personal benefit. And please remember, it is a very, very personal exercise. Nobody else can do it for you. I am going to share a template with you, like how you can go, how you can proceed, but the ultimate onus of getting it done and getting the most out of it is at a personal level. So you will need to really find out that time and get into the details of the paper question by question. All right, so let's get into the template of the analysis, in which first I will ask you to prepare a summary of your overall performance in terms of how many questions were there. Like, in terms of marks also, you can go ahead and do this. You can understand how much you attempted, how much you weren't able to attempt. After the attempted, how much got correct and incorrect. And in the correct also, I would want you to highlight the fact that there were certain questions in which you got partial marks. Now, as such, the exam is objective in nature, but in JEE Advanced, there are these questions which have one or more than one choice correct, and they have partial marks attached to them. So it really and it's a big chunk of the entire paper that is allocated to these one or more than one choice questions. So I would really want you, especially for the students who are preparing for JEE Advanced examination, to highlight these partial correct options as well, these partial correct questions as well. Right, for mains and NEET, you just need to focus on the questions that were completed, which were correct or which were incorrect. You don't need to get into the partial marking detail. Now, once you have the summary ready with you, then you can prepare a set of these three important matrix, which metrics which you can actually analyze on a regular basis. Once you perform this test, then next test, and so on and so forth, these metrics are going to give you an idea of how you are doing. And it is not something that you should look at these metrics in an absolute manner, because sometimes when the paper is tough, you might attempt less. Sometimes when the paper is easy, you might attempt more. So these metrics, as compared to a benchmark, say a topper's performance or an average performance, is what makes more sense. So I'll just quickly take you through the three important metrics. So there's one which is on the percentage attempted. So out of the total paper, how much did you attempt, and do the calculation in terms of marks rather than questions. It gives you a better insight. Then the second matrix is about the second metric is about your accuracy. So out of the questions that you are attempting, how much are you able to score out of those attempted questions. Like, so it will help you understand that your confidence level, how well you are poised in terms of the syllabus preparation, how confident you are during the examination, your temperament. A lot of things get reflected through this metric. Then there is another important metric which you should keep in mind, because all these examinations that you are going to come across are going to have negative marking. So in order to keep your blind guesses in check, or the fact that sometimes students have this mindset that aaj mera din acha chal raha hai, and then they go ahead and the paper they mark these unnecessary blind guesses and get negative marks. So make sure that is also a number which comes out as a key summary, key highlight out of this analysis. Now, once you have done this high level analysis, I would want you to go and do a detailed question by question analysis in terms of how things happen. So, for example, let's focus on the unattempted questions. Now, unattempted questions are a reason to be worried about, as well as something to be proud also. So sometimes, when say a question is difficult and you made a judgment earlier in the paper itself that I should not spend time on it, then actually it worked better for you. So it is really important for you to be able to understand why the questions that were unattempted in the paper were there, and what is the actual reason behind them. Now, typically the reasons are somewhere in this manner, that it could be that students lacked time. uh, this shouldn't be the case going forward, because papers are designed in a manner that students are able to complete them in a stipulated time duration. If you weren't able to complete the paper in the stipulated time duration, then maybe you would have spent some additional time in, let's say, some questions which was not required. You know for a fact that most of the questions that are there have uniform scoring pattern, like they have the same weightage, right? So it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend time in one question unnecessarily. So if you have done that, then it is an important lesson learned that you should not do that in future, and make sure that your attempts are not linear. You are not just attempting questions one after the other. You are being smart about the fact that if a question is difficult and you would want to attempt it later, then you leave it right away. You capitalize on easy and the medium questions first. Make sure that you are maximizing your score in the paper, and then spending time on those difficult questions, right? So this is something which is important. There is also a subject related aspect that comes to it. Like going forward in future in chemistry, you can save a lot of time which can be allocated to maths and physics. However, that is something which comes with practice. Right now you are in the process of giving these papers, and it also highlights the fact that before giving the actual paper, you should also give couple of mock papers also, so that during the examination you have this clear thought process in mind, that I don't have to get stuck with questions. I have to maximize my score and make sure that I complete not just one but maybe two iterations of the paper in the given time duration. Right. Then the second reason could be that the question that you came across was difficult, was something which looked time consuming, so you left it. Now, this is something which, as I was saying about, it's a good thing if you do this, and then if you get a benchmark of this question also. Let's say this question was something which seemed difficult to you also, and is something which even toppers didn't attempt, was the question which had a very less percentage attempted amongst other students also. Then it's a good thing that you actually left that question and didn't spend a lot of time on it. And if there is a question in which you thought it was difficult but it turned out to be easier, like it was maybe just 5-6 lines, but you thought just by looking at it that it's bigger, it's looking something bulky, so I should leave it away. And you realize after giving the paper that it was just simple question, just that too much words were mentioned in the question. So that becomes a learning too, that you should just not leave the questions by a superficial look of it. At least give it a good thorough read, spend some 10 seconds, 20 seconds on it, and realize after that whether you have to attempt the question or leave it, right? The another third category of unattempted questions is also something which has a important lesson attached to it, that you didn't know the concept, or you weren't confident enough to attempt that question, right? So you need to understand the deeper reason behind it, whether it was a concept that you had studied or you didn't even study it. If you studied and forgot it, like it didn't click in the class, then it's a problem associated with revisions. Maybe you need to make formula sheets, maybe you need to revise your concepts in the last week of the examination in a condensed manner. There are sometimes like abhi to you are, when you are giving these exams, the syllabus is limited, but when towards the end of the syllabus, when the syllabus is completed, physics, chemistry and maths, all these topics are there together, sometimes it happens that you tend to leave certain topics also because of, say, lack of priority, lack of preparation, and usme se question aaya and you didn't really get to attempt that question, then it's still okay, but you are aware about it. Okay, you know about it, that okay, this is a question which has generally a less chance of coming in, maybe it came in that day, that's okay. You make peace with it. And lastly, it sometimes also happen as another reason is that you knew the concept and you solved the question but the answer didn't match, right? And that is the reason you decided to leave the question. Now generally it happens often that if a student spends some time in solving that question, they tend to then mark an option. Sometimes they tend to mark an option which is the nearest to what they have got, even if they didn't match the option completely, they just mark the nearest option. Now leaving it unattempted or marking a nearest option, both aren't the optimal ways of dealing with such questions. You should at least try the question one more time, reread the question, look through your steps. Okay, if you have just scribbled through the calculations, done it in an untidy manner, just make sure that you are taking a deep breath. During that paper, you redo the steps that you have worked on, and see if all the data points in the question have been used. You aren't missing any particular point, a particular hidden information in the question, and then see if you really want to leave the question. Okay, blind guess, so definitely you shouldn't put, like you shouldn't you shouldn't just try and see the option which is coming nearest and mark it up. You should definitely make sure that you are getting the correct answer and it is matching with the options, then only mark it. So these are some of the reasons which are there behind the unattempted questions. Make sure that you categorize your unattempted questions under these reasons to really know that how your paper went. Then there are these incorrect questions, right? There were questions that you attempted, but out of those attempted questions, these questions turned out to be incorrect. Like you were confident that you attempted those questions, you thought you were correct, you were going in the right direction, but it turns out you were really incorrect. So you really need to then dig deep to understand what is it that went wrong. So again, one of the most common reason that comes out is the fact that careless mistake ho gaya, silly mistake ho gaya, some kind of you know error happened because of n number of reasons. Now, see, this is something of a general topic, which is a big problem for a lot of students, and it stays a problem until and unless they proactively work on it. So one of the ways in which I have found out working with the careless mistakes is to first identify whether you are making general careless mistake or are you making chapter specific careless mistakes. Like if you make general careless mistakes, such as calculation karne mein dikkat ho gaya, you didn't read the entire question thoroughly, you didn't read all the options, right? आपसे पूछा था what is the additional amount of substance required and you just skipped that additional, you wrote the total amount, and it was a trap that was said. There was an option which was related to the total amount that was also there, so option match ho gaya, so you were quite let's say ecstatic about that fact and you went ahead and marked that option. So these are general set of careless mistakes which students tend to make. So their solution lies in the temperament. Like because when you are attempting the paper, sometimes there is this phase that you feel a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, sometimes you get in a hurry, sometimes you are not in the correct temperament and you tend to make these careless errors. So it is something which doesn't go overnight. It is something which you build with time, you become more and more accustomed to it, you give more and more tests and you develop your casual side towards giving these test papers. Then it becomes something where you are working and in an optimal manner. Sometimes overconfidence is also a reason where you tend to make these careless mistakes. Like it is not just the stress side of situation, it is sometimes this overconfidence wherein the students are in a rush to attempt these questions and they just scroll past without reading the entire question properly. So this is something which it's a fine balance between being overconfident versus underconfident, which is a temperament that you need to develop with practice, with giving as many papers as you can. This other set of careless mistakes, which are these chapter specific careless mistakes, are something which you can definitely thoroughly work on. These are some things which you can include as part of your revisions for future test preparations and make sure that you avoid them. These chapter specific mistakes, as I've highlighted over, they are sometimes related to sign conventions, unit conversions. You applied formula of a related concept which wasn't directly applicable in the particular question. So there are n number of other chapter specific careless mistakes. Now these chapter specific careless mistakes are actually something which you come across when you are doing the chapter for the first time in your lectures. You are doing those questions in your class examples, you are practicing questions from the booklet, you are practicing questions from the assignments, and you come across these chapter specific mistakes. Now what happens is that you don't highlight these chapter specific careless mistakes and then end up redoing them in the examination. So the best way to work with these chapter specific careless mistakes is the fact that you highlight them, you make a log of them. When you're attempting questions in the booklet, when you are solving questions in your class, you highlight that these are the kind of mistakes that I made while solving these questions. And those mistakes are also something which if you revise, you are more and more aware about it, and the likelihood of then you making those careless mistakes become much lesser, right? So this is something which is an important aspect, which gets built over time. Again, it's not a overnight thing. Please make sure that you are working towards it. Then another set of reason because of which a question got incorrect was the fact that you did a guesswork. Like that is what I said in the beginning also, that sometimes students because of say maybe a difficult paper and percentage attempt come hai, so they fall in for this fact that I have not even attempted 50% of the paper. I can't really end the paper in this way, so let me at least try my luck and push some questions, and they end up making these blind guesses. This is never ever going to help you. Okay, maybe it helps in one or two papers, but that's just a matter of luck. It is not something which by the sheer fact of probability and maths is going to help you in the long. It is going to be something which uh, you know gets you more negative marks rather than getting you higher score. So please avoid any such kind of blind guesses, right? Sometimes it does happen that you try to make a calculated guess, and I am going to talk about it when we are going to discuss these one or more choice type of questions, because that is where sometimes it becomes really really important for you to make sure that okay, I'll talk about it once I come to that. Let me actually not skip over to that section. Let me just complete this first. Another reason why incorrect questions are there, an important reason is the fact that you solved the question but the answer didn't match. And this was the reason which I was just talking about some couple of minutes back, where you did spend some time and then you couldn't match the option, but you're like, I have spent this much time, so it's worth it that I make a guess. I will not leave it right there, right? And this is not really a correct thing to do. Rather, you should if you knew the concept, you were able to solve, just spend some more time into that question, maybe a minute more. Reread the question, think if you have missed out anything, double check the calculations and steps, and then see if you are able to get the answer matching with the options or not. Okay. Then sometimes it also happens that students tend to incorrectly mark answers. This is something which is again in the rush of clicking here and there on the screen. So this is also something which is highly undesirable. It happens very rarely only. It is not something which is a prominent reason of incorrect questions, but it does happen in a sense that students if they tend to just not mark all the options. It used to happen before when OMR sheets used to be filled, that they don't fill the OMR sheets right away, they just mark the questions answers in the paper and then fill the OMR sheet later. But that's not a problem nowadays because everything is happening in an online manner. So you have an option of editing your answers later on. So you don't leave your answers for later. You solve the question, you mark it answer right there and there itself, and then move on to the next question. Then coming to this aspect of one or more than one choice questions, this is something which is primarily focused for JEE advanced students. It is something really really important, and it is not just while analyzing but also while giving the test paper. They should always keep this in mind. They have to analyze, or they have to work with each option like a separate question. You read the question, you read the option, maybe then for the next option you again reread the question. You don't think of trying to eliminate options, or you're trying to do some guesswork over there, because if you put in any incorrect answer there, you straight away get negative marks, and the penalty is quite heavy, right? You have a +4, -2 kind of a marking in these papers, in these one or more than one choice questions. So if you get all the options correct, you get +4, but if you get even one single incorrect, you get -2. And there are, of course, you know, numbers in between which you can get if you score partially. So it is much, much better to get some partial marks rather than making any blind guess there. You should treat each option like a separate question, work on it, and only mark it if you are quite confident. Okay. And leaving the question overall is also not a desirable thing, because there are sometimes options which you can really work on. Okay. Now, having done this, comes the last step, wherein you identify what is your immediate improvement potential. You identify the gap between your actual score and the potential score that you would have got. Now, the potential score is something which is eliminating all the careless, silly mistakes that you made, all the time mismanagement things. You left out some easy questions. So remove all of that, and if, let's say, given the opportunity to retake the paper, without any other assistance, without looking any solutions, without discussing with friends, how much you would have scored based on the current level of preparation that you had, right? And that becomes your immediate scope of improvement. Right? Of course, you can improve more than that, but that immediate improvement opportunity is something which was there. It was there for you to grab. It's just that this paper wasn't the one in which you were able to optimally perform. So make sure that this gap reduces with time. It's not something which is going to again get done just immediately after one or two papers, but it will help you understand that how you can maximize your score and performance. All right. So I hope with this you are able to understand how you have to go about analyzing a paper. Once again, I'll reiterate the fact that it is a very, very personal exercise. There is no other person who can do this for you. You will have to find out time and get done this by yourself. Definitely, once you are done with this, then I would encourage you to take up this analysis and discuss with your teachers to make most out of it. All right. I think this should help you a lot. Thank you guys for your patience.